You're watching the Weather Network, and we come to you today from Grand Valley, just beside the Grand River, which did burst its banks last night. Coming up, we'll talk to the mayor of this town, and we'll learn about how common this really is, because it has been a slower flooding season, so to speak, because of the abnormally cool temperatures we've been seeing this spring. However, that's all changing, right? It's a beautiful day, 14 degrees at Pearson, and it's 11 degrees here in Grand Valley. To you inside now, Suzanne, with more.
Oh, sunshine, the feeling of spring. How about the feeling of May weather coming up? Good to see you.
We come to you from Grand Valley, and this is the Grand River behind us, which burst its banks last night. A flood warning is in effect, and we're now joined by Mayor John Oosterhoff. Mayor, this is quite common at this time of year, isn't it? Slow down, and, well, only Mother Nature can control that. We've got more info on flooding and the emergency plan that is in place coming up. But to you inside with your weather.
Thanks very much, Kasia. It's not so much the rain right now, it's the warm temperatures.
It is a gorgeous day in southern Ontario, kicking off the weekend with beautiful temperatures, sunny skies, 14 degrees at Pearson and 11 here in Grand Valley. We're just right along the Grand River, which burst its banks last night. In fact, it's receded considerably because earlier last night, the river was across the street already and up to the curb. So it's receding quite nicely. But of course, there's rain in the forecast, and we'll be talking about that and the emergency plan that Grand Valley has in place for that. To you inside now, Suzanne.
Thanks, Kasia.
You're watching the Weather Network on this Friday afternoon, and we come to you from Grand Valley. Behind me is the Grand River, and just to put things into perspective, it is rushing about 20 times higher, faster, and wider than normally. In fact, a lot of this is just park area, and it's completely submerged by the river. We have the mayor joining us, John Oosterhoff. John, I know you have an emergency plan in place because this happens every year. What is that plan? Get the sandbags out if you are susceptible and if you are close by. Thank you so much, Mayor, for speaking to us, and all the best. We do have rain in the forecast. With more on that, to you inside.
Thanks very much, Kasia.
I'm standing on the shoulder of a main road in Grand Valley, just outside of Orangeville. And by the way, this whole road, this street, was completely submerged underwater yesterday, so the water has since receded. We spoke to the mayor just earlier, who tells me that this river, what you're seeing right now is, the river flowing 20 times higher, faster, and wider than it typically flows. So yeah, it has expanded, it has burst its bank, and there is a flood warning in effect. Coming up, we're going to be talking to local residents about flooding that has been occurring in people's basements already. That's coming up, but in the meantime, temperatures are just beautiful. It's 14 degrees at Pearson, 11 here in Grand Valley. To you inside, Suzanne.
Yeah, those beautiful temperatures, Kasia. That's always the rub, isn't it? It's lovely to be outside, but
we come to you from Grand Valley, Ontario, right along the Grand River, which burst its banks last night. And this happens year in, year out in this area. And you've lived here for 5 years, all the time. It happens every year at this time.
Every year it happens, yeah. Happen every year.
Sure, it's messy. It closes the road. And this, by the way, is a major artery. This is the main street to get into town. So it's probably a real nuisance for a lot of people. Yeah. Now, you're lucky enough to live in a high area.
We don't get affected by it at all.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Good for you. The rest of the residents are probably jealous. Okay. We'll continue to come to you from Grand Valley. But in the meantime, your weather story continues.
Belleville is another problem, of course.
Things could be worse, though. The Solomon Islands in the Pacific.
You're watching the Weather Network on this Friday evening, where temperatures are still amazing in southern Ontario. 14 degrees at Pearson, 11 degrees here in Grand Valley, where I'm standing just right along the Grand River, which typically bursts its banks at this time of year. It gets so bad that it usually goes across the street into the home here. And when we come back, we'll tell you just how bad it gets, and you won't believe it. To you inside, Suzanne, with your weather story.
Oh, flooded home, flooded basement. A beautiful weekend ahead. You don't want to be doing nasty chores like that. I mean, we've all got chores to do, but
we come to you from the Grand River in Grand Valley, where normally at this time of year, with the snow melt and the warming temperatures and, of course, the rain that we get, the water can flow so high that it spills over this street into the basement, into the home of Trevor and Liam right here. So you must be so used to flooding. What's the situation you have now, given that this river burst its banks last night?
At the moment, I've got about 1.5 inches of basement.
That's not so bad. How bad does it normally get?
Anything up to around 5 or 6 inches is quite normal.
It's quite normal. And how bad has it gotten in the past, though?
Oh, I've had 5.5 feet.
Okay, so about the size of Liam over here. You were probably swimming. What do you think of when you flood out like this?
Water.
Yeah, we got rest.
That's something.
The kids got carried out by the fire brigade. I was surrounded by water. They loved it, of course.
Well, here's hoping that this won't happen this spring. All right, to you inside with your weather story.
Carried out by the fire brigade. Oh my goodness, this is a reality that some Canadians, some Ontarians deal with. Thanks, Kasia.